Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes your sources, articles, research, notes, and really digs in to get you well-informed fast. For a lot of us who've kind of wrestled with our relationship with money and work too, there's often this nagging feeling that something's just not quite right. You might find yourself wondering, are you really at peace with your finances? Does your job, does it genuinely reflect your deepest values? Is your life actually whole? Do all the pieces, your job, your spending, your relationships, your values, do they really fit together? If any of those questions kind of hit home for you, well, then this deep dive is definitely something you'll want to stick around for. Today, we're not just unpacking a book. We're really embarking on what feels like a deeply personal journey. It's about a topic that touches every single one of us, money. Our insights today are drawn from a really timeless guy, one that's frankly transformed hundreds of thousands of lives. It's Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez.
The classic, yeah, but it's been powerfully updated for today's world.
People like Mr. Money Mustache have contributed, making it just as relevant now, maybe even more so than when it first came out. So our mission today, it's pretty simple. We want to pull out the incredible lessons from this book, make them easy and honestly entertaining to understand, and crucially, show you exactly how you can apply these transformative ideas directly to your own daily life. Think of it as your shortcut to getting truly well-informed on something that affects everything.
And that whole process, it really starts with a pretty radical challenge to our basic assumptions, doesn't it? What's so compelling about this book, I think, is its approach. It's completely logical, but it also feels quite disruptive when you first encounter it. Right from the start, it confronts what the authors call the modern money trap, and specifically this big one, the illusion of more. Society, as the book really meticulously points out, kind of operates under this pervasive consumer myth, right? That more is better. We're just constantly bombarded with this idea that our spending decisions are purely personal choices. Yeah. Just a simple matter of having enough cash and maybe enough space for all the stuff we accumulate. But the reality, and the authors highlight this starkly, is that almost everything we buy comes with a bit of unseen destruction somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And that destruction, whether it's, environmental damage or maybe the slow erosion of community ties, it's been quietly adding up for decades. It creates this kind of hidden stress that I think many of us feel without quite knowing why.
Yeah, it paints a really vivid picture of that pressure, doesn't it? You're told, consume, keep the economy strong, buy the latest gadget, be a consumer patriot. But then you're stuck with rising debt. It's this crazy bind where, like the book says, you're wrong if you buy and wrong if you don't. And advertising, oh man, it just pours gasoline on this fire. Get this. The average American child, aged 2 to 11, sees over 25,000 ads a year. Globally, ad spending is way over $500 billion annually. These ads, they're not just selling products, are they? They're selling a story, a narrative that you need more, that you are more if you buy more. They're designed very carefully to tap into our deepest insecurities or longings, driving those impulse buys that, let's be honest, often lead to regret later. I saw a survey from 2014. It found 75% of Americans who made an impulse buy, often linked to things like excitement or boredom or even anger, and a full 50% regretted it when the credit card bill arrived. It's just this constant, relentless push.
And another really compelling aspect of this whole thing is how it ties into what they call the happiness paradox. The book presents some truly eye-opening data here. It directly challenges that core assumption most of us have, that more money automatically means more happiness. In their early live seminars, the authors used to ask participants to rate their happiness. It was a simple scale, 1 to 5. 1 was miserable, 5 was joyous, and 3 was kind of can't complain. Oh. Then they correlated these ratings with different income levels from under $1,500 a month way up to over $6,000 a month. And the results from over 1,000 people across the U.S. and Canada were just strikingly consistent, the average happiness score. It hovered stubbornly between 2.6 and 2.8. And that held true regardless of how much money someone earned. It really hammers home the point, doesn't it? That beyond a certain basic level of comfort to, enough to meet your needs, feel secure, money just isn't buying the happiness we think it will.
Wow, that data. That's really sobering. It makes you wonder if this whole societal obsession with more has kind of blinded us to what actually brings fulfillment. So how does the book suggest we break free from that ingrained pattern, especially when it feels so natural, to just keep chasing the next thing?
Right, and that's precisely where the concept of the fulfillment curse comes in. It's a really helpful visual, even though we're just talking about it. Imagine like a simple graph. The horizontal line is the amount of money you spend, and the vertical line is your experience of fulfillment. Now, at the very beginning, when you genuinely lack things, more possessions do bring more fulfillment. Think basic needs. Food, warmth, shelter, getting those initial things, maybe a simple toy as a kid, or your first bicycle that genuinely increases your fulfillment. This is where that pattern, get stuff, get fulfillment, gets really deeply embedded in us. We learn early on money can buy some happiness, or at least comfort and fun.
Yeah, and that positive connection definitely continues, right? As we move from just bare necessities to like niceties and maybe even those first few well-chosen luxuries, a reliable car, a nice trip. But then as you keep going along that curve, something really counterintuitive happens. The curve peaks. It hits a point the book calls enough. And that's the point of maximum fulfillment. At enough, you've got everything you truly need. All your survival needs are met, you've got plenty of comforts and pleasures, and maybe even a few carefully chosen luxuries that genuinely make life better. But crucially, there's nothing extra weighing you down. Nothing bought on credit you're still slaving away to pay off. Nothing unused just collecting dust. The book describes enough as this fearless place, a trusting place, an honest and self-observant place. It's about fully appreciating what money does bring, but also never buying anything that isn't truly needed and deeply wanted. It's really about gratitude for what you have.
Exactly. So the big question then is what happens after enough? This is where the fulfillment curve offers a really transformative perspective. The curve actually starts to decline. More spending beyond that sweet spot of enough leads to what the authors vividly call clutter. And clutter here isn't just physical mess, though it can be. It's defined as whatever you have that doesn't serve you, yet takes up space in your world. It's the excess stuff that starts working against your fulfillment. It becomes a burden, not a blessing. And this clutter, it almost inevitably stems from that more is better mindset, from looking for inner fulfillment in outer possessions.
You know, hearing about those gazingas pins, those things you buy, bring home, and then totally forget about until your next shopping trip when you might just buy another one, huh? I'm suddenly looking around my own room, seeing a few candidates. It's amazing how much we accumulate without even thinking. The book gives some classic examples, right? Like the photo buff with suitcases full of lenses who gets their best shots on their phone anyway. Or that expensive carving set, or maybe 2 sets of dishes still sitting in their boxes gathering dust. This overaccumulation, the book argues, it often comes from seeking external solutions, buying a magazine, booking a cruise, attending a workshop for these internal needs. Psychological needs, maybe even spiritual ones like boredom, or that nagging feeling that there must be more to life. You're essentially trying to scratch a deep inner itch with what? Stuff. Yeah, stuff. And it just doesn't work.
And this whole cycle, this relentless earning and spending, driven by the illusion of more and that search for external fulfillment, it often leads us straight into the Jobism phenomena and debt shackles. The book points out this really profound and maybe uncomfortable shift in modern life. Our jobs have often replaced things like family, neighborhood, community involvement, even our partners, as our main allegiance, our primary source of self-worth. Work has just become this core, sometimes all-consuming part of our identity. Think about reunions. We don't usually ask if our old friends are truly fulfilled, do we? We ask where they work, what their position is, what car they drive. These have become the recognized symbols of success. And this creates kind of hidden hierarchy, a form of social prejudice the authors powerfully call Jobism. And as a result, many of us feel, well, utterly trapped by our work.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that feeling. Yeah, the book paints this vivid, almost unsettling picture. Dragging yourself out of bed, enduring the commute, sitting at a desk, maybe pretending to agree with the boss. Then it's back home, often too tired to do anything but zone out on social media or just collapse in front of the TV. And we call this making a living. The book asks this really provocative question. How many people have you seen who are more alive at the end of the workday than they were at the beginning? Oof. For way too many of us, the truth is probably closer to what they call making a dying. We are, maybe slowly and subtly, killing ourselves, our health, our relationships, our sense of joy and wonder for our jobs. It happens so gradually we barely notice. The only progress we might see are things like, I don't know, a corner office or a company car, which, when you really think about it, are pretty dubious signs of genuine fulfillment.
Yeah, and the book shares some really compelling anecdotes that illustrate this insidious process perfectly. There's the story of Elaine H., a computer programmer. She absolutely hated her job, but she was so good at doing just the bare minimum that they couldn't fire her. So she meticulously accumulated all those classic symbols of success, the flashy sports car, the big house in the country, but they barely made a dent in the profound boredom and, frankly, spiritual emptiness of her work. She felt her job was just biting the center out of her life. Then there's Christy. She was part of a classic dink couple, double income, no kids, both in high-paying tech jobs. Young, rich, looked great. Their lives seemed perfect from the outside. But Christy watched a coworker literally collapse from stress, nearly die at his desk. And when he came back a week later, like nothing happened. Christy knew something was deeply wrong. Then her own boss ended up hospitalized. Her best friend got fired, and Christy herself started needing anxiety meds. She finally had this breakthrough. This isn't worth it. And these aren't just isolated stories, right? They reflect this widespread feeling of being trapped, of sacrificing life itself for a paycheck.
And that trap, it's made even more concrete, more inescapable by the debt reality. We might want to accumulate wealth, but the harsh numbers tell a different story for most people. The U.S. personal savings rate, it's been hovering around 5% recently. That's a huge drop from over 10% before 1980. And while the economy's grown, wages for the bottom 70% of workers, they've barely budged only 5.3% growth since 2000. Meanwhile, the top earners, the 90th, 95th percentile, they saw 15.7% and almost 20% growth. This widening gap means that for most of us, our expectations have just soared past our incomes, leading to more debt. By late 2017, consumer debt was over $3.7 trillion. That's more than $11,000 for every single person in the country. And this isn't just some abstract number, right? This debt makes the 9-to-5 grind feel absolutely mandatory, unavoidable. Our mortgages, car payments, student loans, credit cards, they become this powerful, inescapable force, basically chaining us to jobs we might otherwise leave.
That really crystallizes the problem, doesn't it? And it's something so many people feel without maybe fully realizing why. This debt, as the authors really underscore, becomes one of our main shackles. It's not just a financial burden, it's a profound constraint on our actual freedom. It makes that daily grind of making a dime feel utterly unavoidable. The authors describe it as being caught in this no-win situation where economic patriotism, that pressure to consume, just means going deeper and deeper into debt. It's a pretty bleak backdrop, honestly, but it perfectly sets the stage for the book's truly radical reframing of our whole relationship with money.
Okay, speaking of radical reframing, this deep dive is all about changing our perception. So let's get into the radical reframe. Money as life energy. This part gets right to the absolute core of the book's message. Joe Dominguez, one of the original authors, apparently had this really famous seminar opener back in the day. He'd walk out, look intensely at the audience, pick out maybe the biggest guy there, and just bark, "How big is yours?" Imagine the stunned silence, the nervous laughter. He'd repeat it. I said, "How big is yours?" People would be thinking all sorts of things, obviously. But he was just asking about their paycheck. His brilliant point was to just rattle their cage of certainty, as the book calls it, before asking that seemingly simple question. What is money? It's a question we rarely ask because we think we know. But do we? Really?
Yeah, Joe would then just systematically dismantle all the common definitions we take for granted. Maybe, or a brave economics student might pipe up, money is a means of exchange. Joe's response would be quick and pointed. Good. So I can give you this $100 and buy your wife. Right. His point, sometimes using a story about George Bernard Shaw, was that money only works as exchange if both parties agree it has value. He'd paint this vivid picture: your boat capsizes in the Amazon. A fistful of dollars means absolutely nothing to locals who only see you as, well, potential dinner. Money is fiat currency, he stressed. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on, meaning it's backed by government decree and trust. Not gold unless there's mutual agreement on its value. Okay, so another answer. It's a store of value. Joe would say, yeah, that's truthy, but not always true. He'd point to devastating examples. Speculative bubbles bursting, hyperinflation wiping out savings, pensions lost in the Enron scandal, the 2008 crash, the Madoff scheme. Value can, and terrifyingly does, just disappear overnight.
And he'd just keep tearing down these assumptions. Is money status? Well, not always, he'd argue. Other things like intellect, character, family name can confer status too. Is it power? Well, yeah, it's often used that way, but it's not always a guarantee of real power or influence. Some might even say money is evil or the root of it. Joe, apparently a student of the Bible, would counter, no, the love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself. So all these guesses, each one may be offered with a bit more lightness as people realize their ingrained ideas were being taken apart, they all led to this profound core truth.
And this is it. The revolutionary idea. Money is life energy. What can you say that is always true about money? It's this. Something you trade the hours of your life for. This simple, undeniable truth just shifts your entire perspective. Think about it. You're born. You have about 8,800 hours in a year. Maybe, 650,000 hours before you die? Something like that. And roughly half of those hours are just spent on basic body maintenance, sleeping, eating, washing, all that. That leaves this finite, absolutely irreplaceable treasure of discretionary hours. For someone halfway through life, that could be as few as 150,000 hours left to actually live.
Whoa. That's a stark reality check, a really powerful one. This finite treasure is your life energy. This is all you have for everything that truly matters: loving your family, making your unique contribution, enjoying the world, finding meaning, leaving a legacy. And yet, so many of us just readily sell some of those precious, irreplaceable hours for money, which by itself has no real intrinsic meaning. So knowing that money is simply your life energy, that puts you back in charge. It gives you what the authors call an unbendable arm, that moral strength, that clarity to say no to an impulse purchase because you instantly translate its cost into the hours of your finite life you'd have to trade for it. Imagine the freedom of realizing every minute you work, every dollar you spend is a conscious choice, not just a default setting. It helps you see that, yeah, money's part of the game we all play, but you can consciously choose when you play the money game and when you use other invaluable currencies like love, skills, knowledge, the work of your hands. It makes resisting consumerism way easier because you can ask, is that really worth the minutes or hours of my one precious life?
Exactly. And this profound redefinition, it also forces this powerful, self-reflective question. If you were money, would you hang out with you? Einstein. It makes us look at our relationship with money not just as transactional, but as deeply personal, dynamic. Are you treating your money, your life energy with respect, with intention? Or are you, shrinking from it, desperately chasing it, or just letting it fly out of your wallet without even noticing? This core truth is like taking the red pill in the Matrix, right? You see your choices, make them, see the consequences, and learn. Winning isn't having the most toys. It's having precisely what you need and nothing in excess, and being able to stop playing the game at will. Understanding this is absolutely fundamental to taking back control, which then leads us directly into the concrete, practical steps the book lays out so clearly.
Okay, so if that radical reframe has really got you thinking and you're ready to put these ideas into action, let's get into taking control. The first steps to transformation. This isn't just theory, it's about practical, everyday stuff. The first step, making peace with the past, starts with two exercises that sound simple but are incredibly revealing.
Right. The first part is A. How much have you earned in your lifetime? The mission here is pretty straightforward. Find your total gross income from the very first penny you ever earned right up to your most recent paycheck. Now, this might sound a bit daunting, but the book offers practical places to look. Your Social Security statement is great for lifetime earnings, old income tax returns, checkbook records. And don't forget, less formal income too, gifts, winnings, loans, capital gains, even unreported cash work like babysitting or tips. Get it all down. The value of doing this is immense. It genuinely clears the fog shrouding your past relationship with money, helps you really see your actual wage-earning power over your life. Most people, surprisingly, have no clue how much money has actually flowed through their hands. Plus, it lets you see and consciously let go of any financial skeletons from the past, secrets, regrets, things you haven't acknowledged that might be distorting how you relate to money now.
Yeah, the book shares a really powerful anecdote about that. There was this divorced suburban housewife, mid-30s, who came to a seminar. She'd always seen herself as dependent, maybe a bit unworldly, really underestimating her own contributions. But when she did this first step, when she actually saw her total lifetime earnings number, she felt this immense, visceral sense of power and self-respect. It was like this profound awakening to her own financial agency that she just hadn't realized she had. It's not about getting it exact to the penny, right? But getting as accurate and honest a figure as you can. The insight it gives is just truly transformative.
And the second part of step one flows right from that. B. What do you have to show for it? Your balance sheet. So the task here is to list everything you own your assets and everything you owe your liabilities. But, and this is crucial, at their current cash value. That means what you could realistically get for each item if you had to sell it today. Think garage sale prices, or maybe consignment value. Not what you originally paid or what it means to you sentimentally. Assets include the obvious things. Cash, savings, investments, but also your house, car, furniture, decorations, and yes, even those unused Gozingus pins, that fancy carving set, those extra dishes, still in the box. Liabilities, that's all your debts, student loans, mortgage, credit card balances, any outstanding bills.
And the guiding principle here, and it's so important, is no shame, no blame. This process, it can definitely bring up a lot of feelings: sadness, guilt, maybe nostalgia, embarrassment, even anger over past choices. But the goal isn't judgment. The goal is to be enlightening and, crucially, to lighten the physical and emotional loads you might have been carrying for years just by acknowledging them. The book tells a story about one woman who took 3 months to do her inventory. She went through every box, looked at every photo, opened every drawer. And this painstaking process, she said, led her to this deep experience of gratitude for what she already had. It's a really powerful way to shift your focus from what you think you lack to genuinely appreciating what you do have.
Okay, so building on that essential foundation of self-awareness from step 1, the book then takes us deeper into the present moment with step 2, being in the present, tracking your life energy. The first part of this is huge. A, calculate your real hourly wage. The core idea here is pretty revolutionary for most people. Your actual take-home pay, what's on your paycheck, that is not your real wage because your job comes with all these significant hidden costs, both in time and money, that subtly but surely chip away at what you're effectively earning per hour.
Right. This is where that money as life energy idea gets super practical and frankly a bit shocking when you first do it. Think about it. You earn, say, $25 an hour. You work 40 hours a week, so that's $1,000 gross, okay? But then you start adding up all the other stuff. The job-related expenses we often just ignore. There's commuting, not just the gas or the train fare, but the time spent stuck in traffic, the wear and tear on your car, maybe tolls. That could easily be, 7.5 hours a week, and maybe $100 in costs. Then there's job-related clothing or costuming, those suits you only wear for work, the dry cleaning bills, the uncomfortable shoes you'd never buy otherwise. Maybe another 1.5 hours and $25. What about meals affected by your job? Impulse coffees, expensive lunches downtown, ordering takeout because you're just too wiped out to cook after work. That could easily be 5 hours and $50 a week.
And don't forget decompression time and spending. This is the time you spend maybe ranting about work, or the money spent on drinks, hobbies, maybe even excessive entertainment, just to unwind from the job stress. Perhaps another 5 hours and $30 a week. Then there's what they call escape entertainment. It's been such a rough week, let's blow off some steam, whether that's a night out, a trip to Vegas, maybe even buying an RV just to get away from the job stress. How much of that is really just a reward for putting up with the job you don't love? Let's pencil in another 5 hours and $40. Even job-related illness is a factor. Stress-induced problems, physical issues from work, maybe even just taking mental health days to escape a demanding job. Add maybe 1 hour and $25. And finally, think about Charlie. Other hired help cleaning the house, mowing the lawn, babysitting, all because your job leaves you with zero time or energy to do it yourself.
So when you actually rigorously add all that up, like in the book's example, that person earning a nominal $25 an hour, working 40 hours, they might actually rack up an additional 30 job-related hours, time spent commuting, decompressing, etc., and $300 in related expenses each week. When you factor all that in, their real hourly wage plummets from $25 down to just $10 an hour. Suddenly, every single dollar you spend represents not just money, but a staggering 6 minutes of your precious finite life energy. The value of doing this calculation is just immense. The book tells this great story about Mark H., who dramatically increased his net earnings per hour just by consciously choosing to reduce those job-related costs. He started packing his lunch, took the bus, used the commute time to read and decompress, reevaluated how many fancy clothes he really needed, and even started exercising by walking daily with his wife, boosting their health and their relationship. This exercise doesn't just show you the true cost of your job, it immediately gives you the power to make intentional, liberating changes.
Absolutely. And the second part of step 2 is B. Track every cent that comes into or goes out of your life. Now, this is presented not as some tedious accounting chore, but more like a spiritual discipline. It's a way to train your mind to be here now with your money, cultivating this profound financial mindfulness. It's really a practice in conscious awareness, kind of like meditation or martial arts, designed purely to sharpen your attention on where your life energy is actually going. There are different ways to do it, of course. Old-fashioned paper and pencil, like the authors did, or modern digital apps that link to your bank accounts and track everything automatically. The key is finding whatever works best for you, making it a sustainable habit.
And when they say every cent, they really mean it. Yes, every cent. This seemingly strict approach, it establishes lifelong habits. It prevents those sneaky fudge factors where small, maybe insignificant purchases just add up into large, unaccounted for sums that drain your life energy without you realizing. The book even challenges you. Try going plastic-free for a month. Actually withdraw cash, track every single expenditure manually. This often gives people this profound, greater awareness of spending. It really boosts the motivation to save because you physically see the currency leaving your hand. There's a story about Don S., a Mr. Money Mustache fan, who found that simply tracking his spending led him naturally to swap restaurant lunches for packed ones. Not out of deprivation, he said, but just from having a clearer view of where his income was going and what truly brought him fulfillment. It brings this sense of peace from gaining control of something that had been an utter mystery. It's fundamentally about honesty and self-awareness, not about judging yourself.
Okay, so moving on from tracking, the journey then guides us right to the heart of the transformation. Steps 3 and 4. 3 questions that will transform your life. Monthly tabulation and evaluation. And the authors are really clear here. This program is emphatically the opposite of a budget. It's not about deprivation or external rules that make you feel guilty or restricted. Instead, it's based entirely on consciousness, fulfillment, and choice. Think of it like mindful eating versus dieting. Dieting involves external rules, restriction, and often leads to that rebound effect. Mindful eating, though, teaches you to slow down, pay attention to what your body really needs, eat consciously, and stop when you've genuinely had enough. This approach to money is similar. It cultivates this inner witness that observes your spending with warm awareness, not judging, not evaluating, just curious.
That mindful approach sounds key. And it allows for incredible personalization, right?
Yeah.
It's about developing your own internal wisdom unique to you that guides your financial choices. Part of this involves categorizing your spending in a way that truly reflects your actual behavior, not just using generic categories from some budgeting app. For example, instead of just food, maybe you create groceries just us and groceries guests. Or maybe you separate restaurants too tired to cook from restaurants special occasions if eating out has become a frequent, maybe unconscious habit. This kind of precision helps you vividly identify those hidden spending patterns, like realizing, wow, a significant chunk of money goes to the candy machine on the 3rd floor every afternoon.
Right, and your categories will probably evolve over time as you gain more insight. For housing, beyond just mortgage or rent, maybe you track income from renting out a room. Or you might create separate categories for multiple homes to see if renting occasionally would actually be cheaper than owning. The book even mentions creative housing solutions like house sitting or living in a camper while renting out your main house to save money. For clothing, it's not just necessary versus unnecessary. Maybe it's clothes to cheer me up or clothes to impress the boss. I read a survey, average woman owns 19 pairs of shoes but only wears 4 regularly. That level of self-discovery from honest categories can be really revealing. Transportation might include not just gas, but tolls, transit fares, maybe even the hidden cost of living in a location that forces you to drive more. Technology expenses, which have ballooned for everyone, can be broken down to find surprising savings like switching to no-contract phone plans or just deliberately using Wi-Fi instead of cellular data.
And it's crucial here to distinguish between the job-related expenses and personal ones within these categories, right? That makes the real hourly wage calculation even more accurate. Like, your cell phone bill might be split 50-50 between work and personal use. The goal is just clarity, not perfection. Over time, you refine your categories, gain this unique self-generated picture of your spending. But the real profound transformation comes from applying the 3 transformative questions consistently every month to every single spending category on your list.
Okay, the first question, Q1. Did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value in proportion to life energy spent? The goal here is to develop your own highly personal internal yardstick for fulfillment, one that's completely independent of advertising, peer pressure, what society tells you should want. Did that purchase or that experience genuinely leave you feeling satisfied, content, at peace? Did it really scratch the right itch in the right way, addressing a genuine need or desire? Just doing this consistently, the book says, is itself a form of financial independence. It gives you the inner strength to just say no to unconscious spending that doesn't actually serve you. There's a story about IVN who stopped buying unnecessary clothes after realizing they just didn't bring proportional fulfillment. And guess what? The compliments she got didn't decrease at all. This question is also really powerful for couples. It allows for objective, non-judgmental conversations about spending differences, fostering understanding instead of blame.
Okay, second question, Q2. Is this expenditure of life energy in alignment with my values and life purpose? Ooh, this one sounds like it could be really illuminating because it unflinchingly shows whether you're actually practicing what you preach. Your spending habits, the book argues, are the most concrete, undeniable proof of your actual values, where your precious life energy truly goes. Like, you might say you passionately love the arts, but your monthly tracking shows you spent 25 hours of life energy eating out and only 8 hours on concerts or museums. Or a really striking example from the book. Maybe you spent 25 hours on dining out, but only 8 hours this month devoted to one of your own children. Your spending reveals your true priorities, often in ways that might surprise you and hopefully motivate you.
And defining your life purpose is a key part of answering this. It's described not as some grand, maybe unattainable ideal, but as an overarching goal that embodies our values and our dreams. A concerted intention to do something meaningful for both yourself and the world at large. This might be deeply personal, like raising a loving family, like Amy and Jim D in the book, who started with barely any savings but built a life on one income to raise 4 kids in a rural farmhouse because that aligned with their values. Or it could be broader, like Wes L., a chemist who aligns his whole life with preserving nature. The book suggests finding your purpose isn't necessarily about finding the perfect job. It's often about responding to the simple needs of others. Taking dinner to a sick neighbor, helping a kid learn to read, sharing a skill you have, through small, consistent acts done with great passion or love, finding meaning in the day-to-day.
And the third transformative question, Q3. How might this expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money? Okay, imagine this. Your current job is totally optional. You wake up, you have complete freedom to choose how you spend your time and energy. How would your spending habits change? Would you still buy those Gizingus pins as little rewards for putting up with a job you don't actually love? This question sounds incredibly powerful for exposing what the authors call compensatory spending. Those purchases made specifically to deal with the stress, boredom, dissatisfaction, or just exhaustion that comes from work. It directly motivates you to align your life energy with activities and purchases that genuinely bring you joy, that align with your true purpose, instead of just medicating the symptoms of a job that might be, well, making a dime. These 3 questions, asked consistently every month, they're designed to naturally, organically adjust your spending until it really reflects your deepest fulfillment and your most cherished values.
Exactly. And with these profound insights and that growing self-awareness from tracking, you're not just saving money anymore. You're actively creating a life of real intention and authenticity. This leads us naturally into living the liberated life, starting with creative frugality, which is step 6 in the book. The authors really encourage us to reclaim the word frugality, to rescue it from its maybe quaint, often negative Depression-era image. They point out the Latin root of frugal actually includes meanings like virtue, fruit, and to enjoy or have the use of. So the book defines frugality not as deprivation, but as enjoying the virtue of getting good value for every minute of your life energy and from everything you have the use of.
That's a fantastic reframe. So your success at being frugal, the book argues, isn't measured by how much you pinch pennies, but by your degree of enjoyment of the material world. It's not anti-materialism. It's about mindful appreciation for what you have and what you choose to acquire. A true materialist, the book kind of suggests, might mindlessly guzzle 5 oranges for juice, but a truly frugal person might relish 1 orange, savoring every segment, getting maximum enjoyment. This mindset also extends to sharing, recognizing that what's outside mine often belongs to the rest of us, which leads to a more interconnected, less costly, and ultimately more fulfilling way of living. This creative frugality, it's ultimately an expression of self-esteem, really honoring the life energy you invest in everything.
And then the book offers these sure ways to save money, really practical applications for daily life. First, and maybe deceptively simple, don't go shopping. Sounds obvious, right? But it's incredibly powerful. If you don't physically go into stores or constantly browse online, you just won't be exposed to those impulse buys. And with advertising algorithms tracking everything, filling your screens with relevant offers, it's easier than ever to waste money without even leaving your couch. Like we mentioned, studies show 75% of Americans make impulse buys and half regret them. Just avoiding the trigger environments is huge.
Okay, next, live within your means. This means really rigorously avoiding credit card interest. That stuff can make you pay 2 or even 3 times the original purchase price over time. The book strongly advocates waiting until you actually have the money before buying something. This not only saves you a ton in interest, but also creates this valuable waiting period. During that time, you might realize you don't even need the item anymore, or maybe you find a better, cheaper alternative. It's a powerful way to break that buy now, pay later habit and build financial discipline.
Then there's maintain what you have. This is such a powerful antidote to our throwaway culture. It means repairing rather than replacing, consciously rewiring our brains to think repair first, not replace. Mend ripped clothes, re-sole worn shoes, do regular oil changes on your car, dust your refrigerator coil so it runs efficiently. These seemingly small acts extend the life of your stuff, reduce waste, and can save you thousands in the long run.
Which leads naturally to do-it-yourself, or DIY. And this isn't just about saving money, is it? It's about building actual skills and competence. Learning to fix things around the house, planting a garden, cooking from scratch, maybe even designing a simple website for a friend. The book challenges you. Can I do this myself? What would it take to learn how? It even tells this great story of a woman who saved hundreds on a heating repair just by researching the problem online herself and then guiding the repairman. This practice builds what they call your natural wealth, your abilities. It makes you more self-sufficient, resilient, and frankly, more confident.
Fifth is anticipate your needs. Basically, planning purchases thoughtfully to avoid those last-minute impulse buys and also to take advantage of sales or seasonal discounts. Sixth, research value, quality, durability, multiple use, and price. Don't just grab the cheapest thing. Consider how long it will last, its true cost over its lifetime. The book strongly advises buying used thrift stores, garage sales, online marketplaces like FreeCycle, and really critically re-examining any negative feelings you might have about secondhand stuff. A new car, for example, loses almost 20% of its value the minute you drive it off the lot. Why not let someone else pay that huge initial depreciation cost?
And crucially, substitute consumption with creativity life. The book says people don't need enormous cars, they need respect. Wow, so when you feel that urge to shop, dig deeper. Trace it back to the underlying need. Are you bored, lonely, stressed out? Then ask yourself if creativity or connection or maybe a different activity might actually fulfill that need better than buying something. Maybe going for a run lifts your spirits better than an antidepressant. Maybe joining a club or volunteering does more for loneliness than wandering through a mall. It's about finding non-material ways to meet those deeper psychological and emotional needs.
The book also gets really specific with strategies for frugalizing key expenses, often the biggest chunks of our spending. Housing is usually number one. Consider housemates, maybe moving to a less expensive area, renting out unused space in your current home, or even exploring options like house sitting. For transportation, choose reliable, fuel-efficient cars. Embrace public transit, carpool, maybe bike more. One woman in the book gave up her car entirely for bike sharing and transit. She found she could still go camping by occasionally borrowing a friend's car and just paying for gas.
For health, prevention is absolutely number one. Healthy diet, regular exercise, good rest, actively reducing stress. Look for free health fairs, consider dental schools for much cheaper care, and always comparison shop hospital costs if you have a planned procedure. Some people even travel to other countries for procedures that cost way, way less. For technology, rethink those expensive phone contracts. Look at pay-as-you-go plans, maximize free Wi-Fi. Consider buying used phones.
When it comes to vacations, get creative. Embrace staycations. Explore local parks. Go camping. Look into things like couch surfing, home exchanges, or WWoofing that's volunteering on organic farms for room and board. For longer travel, some clever FI folks live in low-budget countries for part of the year. And finally, for raising children frugally, the most powerful thing is just modeling the behavior yourself. Give kids allowances for essentials to teach them responsibility. Connect them with nature-free entertainment. Substitute creativity for money. Use clothing swaps. Buy used baby gear. Encourage them to earn part of their college costs, maybe through AP or CLEP tests for college credit. Starting a community college, aiming for in-state tuition. The book even points out that a frugal lifestyle can actually qualify you for more need-based financial aid for college.
Wow, that's a truly comprehensive approach. And it brings us to redefining work, which is step 7. This sounds like a really liberating concept that builds on everything we've talked about. The fundamental problem, as the book lays it out, is that our current idea of work often involves selling just a tiny slice of our real talents and passions for money. And that leads to that soul-crushing feeling of making a dime. Historically, people might have worked only, 3 hours a day in pre-industrial times? Work blended more seamlessly with family and community, but the Industrial Revolution brought this compartmentalization. Work took a bigger and bigger bite, driven by this push for full employment and mass consumption. Jobs became the main source of meaning and identity, often maybe to our detriment.
So the ultimate liberation, the book argues, comes from breaking the link between work and money, meaning wages, as the sole reason for working. And the implications of this shift are truly stunning. First, redefining work increases choices. You're no longer just confined to being a computer programmer. If deep down you're really a natural teacher or an artist or a community organizer, you get to reclaim your true identity, your purpose. The book tells this great story about Donna, a doctor who absolutely hated her secure group practice. But after finding clarity through this process, she left to open a women's clinic that truly aligned with her deepest values. This shift lets you be who you really are, instead of just conforming to a job title for a paycheck.
Second, it shifts responsibility. You move from just carrying out someone else's agenda to aligning your efforts with your own values and purpose. There's Ted Y., a skilled remodeler. He decided to raise his rates significantly, not to get richer, but specifically to free up more time for his real passion, writing. And to his surprise, demand for his remodeling work actually increased. He ended up with all the work he wanted at much higher wages, which gave him plenty of time for his passion projects. It just shows the incredible power of valuing your own time and skill, and how purpose can be a way better motivator than just profit.
Third, It profoundly values the rest of your time. We often think of evenings, weekends, holidays as just time off, a break before getting back to the real work of our jobs. But breaking that link between work and money lets you see all that non-work time as equally valuable life energy. It frees you to consciously pursue hobbies, passions, community stuff, deep relationships, things that genuinely enrich your life. It encourages you to fill those hours with things that light you up, not just use them to recover from work.
And fourth, redefining work adds life to your retirement. Retirement doesn't have to mean you stop being useful or productive. It just means you can stop working for money. It becomes about being useful, contributing through pure choice, rather than obligation or financial necessity. That's a huge shift from the traditional view of retirement as just stopping. It transforms it into potentially a vibrant new phase of purposeful engagement.
And finally, achieving financial independence gives you that unbendable arm we talked about earlier, that inherent strength and freedom to choose your mission over just money, even within your paid employment. They share this fascinating anecdote about an experiment with apes. When they were paid with peanuts for doing art, their work quickly devolved into just hasty scrawls. They were just trying to get the reward. Commercialism, the profit motive, actually destroyed their intrinsic motivation, their art. It just got them scrambling for peanuts. It shows how the profit motive can corrupt intrinsic motivation for us, too. Nina N., and FIRE mentioned in the book, strategically took a higher-paying role. Not for the status or the money itself, but specifically to accelerate her path to FI, knowing that more income now meant her time would be her own that much sooner. This whole mindset empowers you to decide exactly how much time and energy you invest in the workplace, and enables you to pursue side gigs, passions, volunteering joyfully, because they serve your higher purpose, not just a paycheck.
Wow. This entire journey, all these steps, they really culminate in this powerful and inspiring vision for your future. It moves from just personal liberation to a broader contribution. Let's circle back quickly to the wall chart and savings. That's step 5 in the book. The book stresses the immense motivational power of actually seeing the gap between your income and expenses grow visually on a chart month after month. This gap, the money you save by consciously spending less than you earn, has a crucial name: capital. It's money that now works to make more money for you. It's not just about watching numbers go up, it's about seeing your tangible progress and being actively motivated by it. Almost like playing a game you're winning.
Yeah, the book shares that inspiring story about Linda and Mike Lenich. Just by consistently following the steps and diligently using their wall chart for motivation, they went from $52,000 in debt to completely debt-free in only 1 year. Seeing that visible, undeniable progress made saving feel like a game. It just propelled them forward. And these savings, they create that critical cushion or emergency fund. This transforms what could be a tragedy, like losing your job, into potentially an unexpected opportunity. Imagine having enough savings that getting laid off becomes a chance to explore new options, learn a new skill, maybe travel instead of being a total crisis. The Federal Reserve reported back in 2015 that almost 47% of Americans would have to borrow money or sell something just to cover a $400 emergency expense. That really highlights how precarious life is for so many without that cushion.
And the ultimate outcome of this whole journey is reaching the crossover point, which is simplified as step 8. This is that magical, liberating moment when your monthly investment income consistently exceeds your monthly expenses. At this point, your employment officially becomes optional. That is the definition of true financial independence. It means your capital independence. Those savings you've meticulously built up by spending less than you earn is now working tirelessly for you. It's generating passive income, maybe through smart investments like low-cost index funds, and it's growing steadily through the incredible power of compound interest. Nina N's wall chart, the one we mentioned, powerfully illustrated this. She watched her monthly investment income line steadily rise, eventually crossing over her expenses line. It proves this is a tangible, achievable goal.
And, beyond just personal financial independence lies this deeper, maybe even more profound concept: financial interdependence. The true wealth. The program, the book says, walks on 2 legs: your dollars and cents life and your love in the widest sense life. End of quote. Beyond our national currency, the money we trade, there's this richer, more enduring natural currency. That's the endless shuttling of giving and receiving between people. This is the real shared wealth we all tap into when we live well together. The book identifies the ABCs of wealth: abilities, belonging, and community.
Okay, so abilities, those are the skills you've actively developed through creative frugality, fixing things, growing food, maybe designing that website. These aren't just money savers. They make you intrinsically valuable to others. They can even be monetized later if needed. They foster that natural currency of giving and receiving. Belonging, that refers to your deep connections, family, friends, trusted support networks. The book really emphasizes that strong social support is absolutely crucial both for sticking with behavior change and just for navigating life's ups and downs. And community represents your broader networks. The collective support you give and receive from those around you, neighbors, local groups, even connecting with nature, all enriched by the time and energy you've freed up from the money trap.
Exactly. By engaging deeply in this whole program, you literally take your eyes off the false prize of just more, better, and different stuff, and you put them squarely on the real prizes: friends, family, sharing, caring, learning, meeting challenges, intimacy, rest, and being present, connected, and respected. This, the book argues, is the true wealth that actually lasts. It's about having precisely what you need, nothing in excess, and crucially, having the freedom to make choices that align with your deepest values and purpose. To contribute meaningfully to a better world, because you're no longer shackled by that relentless need to simply make a dime.
Wow, what a truly transformative journey we've explored today. We've really unpacked how to redefine your whole relationship with money, seeing it not as just numbers or stress, but as your finite, precious life energy. We've looked at the hidden cost of our jobs, that pervasive myth of more is better, and how they can trap us in that cycle of making a dying. And we've dug into these practical, transformative steps, making peace with your financial past, calculating your true hourly wage, tracking every cent, and asking those 3 powerful questions that help align your spending and your work with your deepest values and purpose.
Yeah, it's really about gaining that unbendable arm over your financial destiny. Whether that comes through the conscious choices of creative frugality, the liberation of redefining work, or eventually reaching that pivotal crossover point where employment truly becomes optional. And maybe most importantly, it's about realizing that true wealth isn't just personal financial independence. It's found in financial interdependence and that rich natural currency of abilities, belonging, and community. It's a truly holistic approach to life, not just money, that empowers you to live with so much more intention and, frankly, more joy.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on. What if winning isn't really about having the most toys? What if winning is about having precisely what you need, nothing in excess, and having the freedom to stop playing the game whenever you choose? Imagine what your life could look like if every single decision was a conscious act of valuing your finite, precious life energy. What kind of world could we maybe build if everyone truly found building extra wealth in their communities? The transformation, it starts with you. One conscious choice at a time. What will be your first step?